About a year ago, I reviewed a monitor that I got from BenQ. It was a big old 1440p 32-inch curved monitor, and it was pretty nice. I've been using it since then, until pretty recently. BenQ sent me this one that you see back here, which is very similar to that one, but also very different in its own way that I think it deserves its own video, as did BenQ, which is why they sent it to me. This monitor you see here is the BenQ MOBIUZ EX2710U. Pretty sure that I got that one right. I think that's it. And it's a 4K 27-inch monitor, 144 Hz, and it has HDMI 2.1, making this a great monitor for your current gen consoles such as the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, which is why BenQ reached out to me after I got a PS5 to send this over for review. So thank you, BenQ. And as always, you guys should know this does not affect my opinion. I'm going to give you just my raw impressions on how I feel about this monitor for my everyday use. It retails for $899. With the specs that this thing has, I think it's a little bit to be expected. The box it comes in is massive for a 27-inch monitor. I'm pretty sure it's just as big as the one that the 32-inch monitor came in, but thankfully this monitor is smaller and much lighter. So what's in the box? Well, you're gonna get the monitor, you're gonna get the base stand, you're gonna get a power cable, an HDMI cable, DisplayPort cable, a USB Type-B to USB-A upstream cable to connect the monitor to your computer and use as a USB hub. There's a remote control, again, thank goodness, I hate using anything but a remote control now, thanks to BenQ, you spoiled me. There's an I/O cover, which I have never used on either of these monitors, and a warranty card and quick start guide. Now we're going to get into the performance, the gaming experience, and so on, but first let's get into the little frills and features that the monitor has. So like I said, you've got two HDMI 2.1 ports. You've got one DisplayPort 1.4, one USB-B to USB-A upstream with four USB 3.0 ports to plug into the monitor. It comes with a pretty massive solid stand. It's the same type of stand we saw on the 3210R. It's bittersweet. It's really nice. I like that it's very height adjustable and that it swivels side to side. It's got the perfect amount of adjustability for myself. I don't need to rotate it or swivel it in any other way. I just need it to do what it already does. My main complaint, as it was with the last monitor, is the base. The base is huge. It's just too big. It gets in the way, and it's something that I kind of have to rearrange my desk around just to make sure everything fits. My desk is cluttered with a PC, 3 consoles, and my work computer, so it's a little bit more crowded than some desks might be. So depending on your use case and how cramped your desk may or may not be, it might not be as big a deal. I just like that I'm able to adjust it exactly the way that I need to, because I just hate using monitor arms. I don't like using them. They always wiggle and wobble. No thank you. It has really impressive built-in speakers. Impressive for a monitor. 2.1 channel speakers. I think there's a subwoofer built into the back as well. But typically built-in monitor speakers are not good, but I would say that they are definitely very good in comparison to most monitor speakers. I'd say it's kind of on par with a TV, so if you're okay with watching a TV with the speakers that are built in, it's a similar experience to that. Now the remote here is exactly the same as the remote that came with the 3210R, and I absolutely love this thing. I could never go back to a monitor without a remote. It's got everything you need from input change to volume to a mute button, and you can easily change between the different display and audio modes with just a couple button presses. Now if you have a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, the way to get the most out of those is a 4K display with 120 Hz at least, and you need HDMI 2.1 for those to work simultaneously on those consoles. It's more common with TVs, but it is still technically newer tech, but it's even less common with monitors. They're out there, sure, and they've been rolling out more and more because of the existence of these consoles and more people wanting to play their consoles on a monitor on their desk rather than in front of a big TV. So there are options out there, but they are still fairly limited, and that's partially one of the reasons that the price tag on this monitor is so expensive. I mean, it's got 4K resolution, it's got a 144 Hz refresh rate. That's already going to be a pretty pricey monitor if you shop around for something like that. When you add the HDMI 2.1, that's just going to drive the price up a little bit more. But enough with the price. How does it work? How does it perform? Does it look good? Is it worth it? Well, let's get into that. So I'm going to be honest, I cannot run 4K gaming very well on my PC. I just upgraded my graphics card a few months ago, but it was a cheap upgrade, but definitely a nice solid upgrade for 1080p, some 1440p. I wasn't expecting to get a 4K monitor at the time, so I shopped accordingly. That being said, when I do game in 1080p or in 1440p especially, I think it still looks very, very good on this monitor. 1080p is noticeably at a lower resolution, sure, but I think 1440p looks very sharp, depending on the game that you're playing. To my eyes, it looks very good. It's not going to look amazing because it's still 1080p on a 4K display, but I'm just saying it's not really something I think is going to bother you, especially in a competitive game where you're not really focused on the graphical details so much as you are just popping those headshots. And I'm not saying that this monitor is a magic monitor that is going to make everything look clean and crisp regardless of the resolution you're using. What I'm saying is 27 inches is a nice sweet spot for a 4K monitor because you really get that crispness of 4K, but you don't notice the lower resolution as much as you would on a bigger display like a 32, 40 inch, etc. The refresh rate is really nice too. I still kind of have a hard time pushing those higher refresh rates on some games, but on games like Valorant, I'm definitely exceeding the refresh rate and it looks very, very smooth. It has built-in preset modes that you can use, like a MacBook display, different game modes like RPG, first-person shooter, and it has HDRI, which is BenQ's own proprietary HDR simulation. You've got Display HDR, Game HDR, and Cinema HDR. They recommend Cinema HDR for movies and Game HDR for, you guessed it, games. Cinema HDR is supposed to have a better color and contrast for movies, and Game HDR is supposed to bring out more detail in dark areas and balance out the bright areas so that you're able to have the advantage, I guess, of being able to see everything at a more even brightness plane, but without it looking muddy and gross. It's hit and miss for me. Personally, I don't think it's a fault of the monitor, it's more so that Windows just doesn't really do HDR correctly. It always just looks too dark for me, and I really have to go in there and tweak the settings a whole bunch just for it to look right. But again, I don't fault the monitor with that, because when I use HDR on the PS5, I think it looks really great. Personally, I think that this thing looks incredible. Using it on my PS5 has been awesome. It's been a great way to experience the PS5, having had this thing basically since I've had the PS5. Of course, the PS5 doesn't support 120Hz gameplay on every game. It's like a very select list. The good thing is, if you want to do that for the games that can run it, there it is. You've got your monitor ready to go. One great example is Ratchet & Clank Drift Apart, I think is what it's called, the newest one. I've been playing that, and it looks freaking good on this monitor, like no lie. I turned on the 120Hz mode, and it still looks really, really crisp, and it runs very smoothly. You can really see the smoothness. It just feels so buttery. It's nice. It's obviously something you're not going to see through camera here on YouTube. It's something you have to see with your own eyes, but trust me, it is very, very smooth. I feel like you'll much more notice the higher frame rate than you will the higher resolution. So if you're looking for a 4K monitor that isn't too big and you're going to get all those experiences that you want, the high refresh rate, HDMI 2.1 so you get the best out of your new consoles, I think this is the way to go. I think it looks really good. I love having the remote at my fingertips. I like the built-in speakers, and it just does everything that I need. I think this monitor is worth it, and I'm going to be using this one for a long time to come. And if you want to check out this monitor, I will have links in the description. I'm not entirely sure as of recording what links there'll be. There might be an affiliate link from Amazon. I don't know. But I'm going to have at least some kind of link so that you can go out there, check out this monitor, and purchase it if you'd like. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to check out another video, you can check out one of these. This entire time I've been recording, I wanted that to have my wallpaper up, and it's had my Adobe Audition up, and I just at the very end of this video realized that. Like, comment, and subscribe.